What? Alicia, you weren't invited? Invited to what? I asked back with a laugh. I thought it was some kind of joke. Sophia's wedding is tomorrow. Everyone will be there. Your parents will also be there, of course. That was the moment I found out I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding just one day before it took place. Suddenly, the music and laughter of the party felt like they were fading into the distance. I felt my heart sink heavily in my chest. Sophia's wedding? My aunt's face turned pale. Oh no, don't tell me you really didn't know. I really didn't. Tomorrow's the second Sunday, so I was going to Costco. I was so shocked that I couldn't form words. For the past 3 years, Aunt Miranda and I had a routine of going to Costco together. Every second Sunday of the month at 10 a.m., I would pick her up in my car, and we'd stock up on bulk groceries and household supplies. She didn't like driving. I run a furniture store and need commercial cleaners and paper towels. I always thought we had a mutually beneficial, good relationship. Just the day before the second Saturday of the month, her son, my cousin Jacob, had his 25th birthday party at a restaurant. It was a big event. I donated several $100s and even arrived early to help set things up. As the party got lively, I felt like I was sharing a warm moment as part of the family. I did think it was a little strange that my parents and sister weren't there, but I assumed they had other plans. Jacob thanked me sincerely, and I chatted pleasantly with other relatives. "Oh, Miranda," I said casually, holding a glass of wine, "what time should I pick you up for Costco tomorrow? Is 10 o'clock okay, like usual?" Miranda's hand froze mid-air, still holding a champagne glass. Her expression shifted from confusion to realization in a matter of seconds. And that's when I learned that my one and only sister was getting married that day. Jacob, who was nearby, also noticed our conversation and turned around with a confused look. "Alicia, you really didn't know? We've been planning this for 6 months. Sophia and your parents aren't here today because of the wedding tomorrow." I tried to make sense of it all. Not a single person in my family had mentioned the wedding to me in 6 months. In fact, I didn't even know Sophia was engaged. But why just me? Maybe they forgot to tell you. Miranda tried to explain in a flustered tone. Or maybe they didn't want to trouble you. "You're always so busy, with running your store and all." That excuse only made everything clearer. I wasn't part of the family. At least, not in their eyes. I looked around. All my relatives at the party clearly knew about the wedding. Uncle Elliot, cousin Nathan, even neighbors who were close to the family. Only I had been left out. "Where is the venue?" I asked as calmly as I could. "The Rose Garden Banquet Hall, the one that has a beautiful garden." It's the place Sophia always dreamed of. The Rose Garden Banquet Hall. Coincidentally, it was a venue managed by my best friend, Camila. My family had to know that. I kept my smile and replied, "Yes, it's a lovely place." But inside, all the puzzle pieces were coming together into a terrifying picture. For the rest of the party, I behaved as if everything were normal. I said happy birthday to Jacob and continued with small talk with the other relatives. But deep inside, I felt as if I had finally found the answer to a question that had lingered for years. Was I truly part of this family? Or was I just a convenient presence they called upon when it suited them? Driving home, I reflected on my relationship with my family. Lately, I had been feeling a subtle discomfort in how my parents and sister treated me at gatherings. Conversations would taper off, and I was naturally placed at the edge in group photos. But I never imagined I would be excluded from my sister's wedding. I had planned to go to Costco, but there was no longer any reason for me to go. Aunt Miranda would be attending the wedding. Only I would be spending another Sunday alone, just like always. The next morning, I gathered my courage and called my parents. I held a faint hope that maybe Aunt Miranda had been mistaken. "Good morning, Mom." I heard from Aunt Miranda yesterday. Is Sophia's wedding really happening today? There was a clear moment of troubled silence on the other end. Ah, Alicia, yes it is. But don't worry. It's just a small wedding. You don't need to come. Not, we forgot to invite you. Just you don't need to come. It was as if I were too busy to attend. But I didn't even know Sophia was engaged. When did you start planning this? About 6 months ago, I think. It all came together suddenly. The timing worked best for him. I called my mother twice a week. Not once had she mentioned the wedding. Why didn't you tell me? My mother's voice grew smaller. It's really a small ceremony, just family. And you're always busy, with your store and everything. Am I not family? Is Dad there? Can I talk to him? My father came on the line. His voice was cheerful as always, but somehow it sounded fake. Alicia, good morning. What's going on? I just heard about Sophia's wedding. Why didn't you tell me? He sighed lightly. It's a very small wedding. You've been so busy, and we didn't want to trouble you with it. But I'm her sister. Of course I'd want to attend her wedding. I get that, but, well, everything's already arranged. It's hard to change anything now. It was as if I were suddenly trying to barge in. You're always so busy. Running your store and all. We didn't want to add more stress for you. He made it obvious to me that it would have been a burden to them if I were to attend my sister's wedding. And then came the question that confirmed everything. By the way, who paid for the venue? It must have been expensive, right? There was a brief hesitation in my father's voice. Well, the whole family chipped in together, even with the hospital expenses. Did the money I sent for your treatment cover those costs? Well, actually, I didn't end up needing the treatment. Then what happened to that money? It was used for the wedding. I felt my blood run cold. The $7,000 I had sent for my father's supposed hospitalization had funded the very wedding I was excluded from. So you used my money to throw a wedding I wasn't even invited to. Alicia, don't say it like that. We're family. Now suddenly the word family was convenient to use. I ended the call. There was nothing more I needed to hear. Everything became clear. After hanging up, I checked my call history with trembling hands. Calls from my father. Emails from my mother. Bank transfer confirmations. They were all proof of a lie. I remembered what had happened 6 months ago. My father had called me one weekday evening in a panic. Alicia, I had some tests done at the hospital. They say I need surgery right away. But I don't have enough for the hospital fees. His voice was frail. He sounded genuinely unwell. I didn't doubt him for a second. How much do you need? About $7,000. I hate to ask, but could you help me out? Without hesitation, I transferred the money the next day. I thought nothing was more important than my father's health. I called several times feeling worried. He eventually told me the surgery went well. I'm fine now. A few weeks later, he picked up the phone again, sounding cheerful and healthy as ever. I had been surprised by how quickly he recovered, but I was relieved. Looking back now, that was when the shift in my family began. They became distant on the phone. At gatherings, I noticed they treated me with subtle detachment. I imagined how that $7,000 was spent. The venue for Sophia's wedding, her dress, the food, the flowers. A beautiful wedding made possible with my money, and I had no place in it. What hurt more was knowing everyone in the family had known. My mother, and most likely Sophia too, must have known the wedding was being funded with my money. Yet none of them questioned why I wasn't invited. They happily planned a celebration I was excluded from. They moved forward, never once informing me, while enjoying their time together. What I felt wasn't anger, it was deep, overwhelming sadness. The people I had always believed were my family, they had seen me as nothing more than an ATM. They came to me when they needed something. And once they got it, they conveniently forgot about me. That was all I had been to them. But at the same time, I felt a strange sense of relief. I wasn't truly part of the family. If that's the case, then I don't have to keep pretending anymore. I stood up and made myself a cup of coffee. It was Sunday. Normally, I would have headed to Costco with Aunt Miranda. But she was at the wedding, which was funded by the money I had sent. The wedding I wasn't invited to. It was ironic. But it was that irony that gave me the resolve to make my next move. After a while, I picked up my phone and called Camila. Camila had been my best friend since college. After graduation, she inherited the Rose Garden banquet hall from her parents and had been running it beautifully ever since. Camila? It's Alicia. Alicia, it's been a while. What's going on? I just need to check something. There's a wedding scheduled at the Rose Garden today, right? Yes, at 2 p.m. The bride, would her name happen to be Sophia Winters? That's right. She's your sister, isn't she? Aren't you coming? I was planning to stop by the hall, too. I was looking forward to seeing you again. I gave a wry smile. Actually, I wasn't invited. I could hear Camila gasp on the other end of the line. What? What do you mean? I explained briefly what had happened from the previous night through the morning. How I found out at my cousin's birthday party, the phone call with my parents, the fake hospitalization and them misusing my money. Unbelievable. Camila's voice was full of anger. To use your money for a wedding and not even invite you, that's unforgivable. Camila, I need a favor. Anything. Can you cancel the wedding today? There was a long pause. Alicia, that's a big risk from a business standpoint. But, Camila's voice grew firm. Friendship matters more. What reason should I give? Just say there was an emergency with the facility. Plumbing issues or something. I'll cover the refund myself. Don't worry about the refund. This is my decision. Thank you, Camila. Now we're even. Even? They treated me like an ATM. Now it's my turn to show them reality. Camila was quiet for a moment, then said, Okay, but what will you do after that? It's going to cause a huge scene. That's their problem. I'm done cleaning up after this family. After I hung up, I felt truly free for the first time. Until now, I had always put my family first, always putting my own feelings second. But that ends today. Around 1 p.m., my phone began to ring. The first call was from Sophia. Alicia, there's some kind of trouble at the venue. Have you heard anything from Camila? I answered calmly. What are you talking about? I haven't heard a thing. They said there's a plumbing issue, and we can't use the hall today. What are we supposed to do? That sounds awful. But there's nothing I can do. Next was my mother. Alicia, please, is there anything you can do? Can you ask Camila to help us? Why should I ask her? I wasn't invited, remember? And then, my father. Alicia, please, we're family. Help us. Family? I answered coldly. If we were family, you would have invited me from the beginning. I ended the call and took a deep breath. This was the beginning of my new life. Around 3 p.m., I drove to the Rose Garden banquet hall. It wasn't out of curiosity, it felt more like a ritual to mark the end of who I used to be. The venue's parking lot was in complete chaos. The wedding, originally meant to take place in a beautiful garden, was now being held on an asphalt parking lot. Later, Camila told me that after denying them use of the venue, Sophia and my mother had begged her desperately. Could you at least let us use the parking lot? They pleaded. Out of her friendship with me and a sense of human decency, Camila had replied, Yes, you can use the parking lot. But no other facilities will be available. This was the result. In one corner of the lot stood a single white rental tent, set up in a hurry. Underneath it, Mismatched folding chairs were placed haphazardly. Many chairs were uneven in height, some wobbled. The arch was a flimsy, collapsible type, with artificial flowers fluttering in the wind. Sophia wore a beautiful wedding dress, but its elegance only made the shabbiness of the setup more tragic. She was quietly sobbing at times, clutching the groom's hand. Adrian, the groom, looked bewildered, glancing around repeatedly. The guests' reactions were mixed. Older relatives wore sympathetic expressions, but some younger friends were giggling quietly. The guests on the groom's side looked clearly uncomfortable. I can't post this kind of wedding on social media. Never thought I'd attend a parking lot wedding. What happened with the bride's family? Their whispers echoed through the lot. Even the officiant seemed at a loss. The microphone was faulty, cutting out at random intervals. These two beloved souls, static, vow eternal love, buzzing sound. Sophia's veil was blown upward by the wind multiple times, and she had to keep catching it in a panic. During the ring exchange, the sound of a nearby car engine drowned out the officiant's voice. My mother was forcing a smile, but her eyes were filled with tears. My father kept his head down in shame, avoiding eye contact. What about the photos? The photographer looked helpless. The background was nothing but concrete walls and parked cars. Hardly the setting for a cherished wedding memory. I stepped out of my car and silently watched the scene. This was what had become of the dream wedding. That was supposed to be funded by my money. Jacob spotted me and came over. "Alicia, this is just awful." "It is," I replied calmly. "But this is the outcome they chose. If they had invited you, this never would have happened." I smiled. "But this entire scene shows exactly what I meant to them. Someone to rely on when they needed problem solved. Someone they could discard when no longer convenient." The wedding somehow proceeded to the end, but many of the guests were already trying to leave early. The groom's relatives and friends looked especially out of place. "Congratulations." I approached Sophia and spoke quietly. She turned, her face flushed red with tears and rage, and glared at me. "This is your fault. You ruined the most important day of my life." "My fault," I responded calmly. "I simply stepped back from a wedding I wasn't invited to. This is what the wedding looks like without me." "Isn't this exactly what you wanted?" People around us started to take notice of our conversation. Everyone. I raised my voice toward the guests. "Thank you for taking the time to attend today. How are you enjoying this parking lot wedding?" You see, this is what happened when the wedding was planned without me. A murmur ran through the crowd. I continued. "I'm the bride's sister, yet I wasn't invited to this wedding. No one told me anything about it, even though it had been in the works for 6 months. I only found out by chance last night." The expressions of the guests began to shift. On top of that, the $7,000 I sent for my father's supposed hospitalization was used to pay for this wedding. So yes, this is a wedding, paid for with my money, that I wasn't even invited to. Silence fell over the venue. And this morning, I explained the situation to my friend who owns this venue, and she declined to allow its use. "That's why this ceremony is happening in the parking lot," Sophia shouted. "Stop it." But I ignored her and continued. "Until now, I've always been the one to solve the family's problems. But I finally understand they needed me only as a problem solver, not as family." I looked at Adrian, the groom. "Congratulations, Adrian. But please remember what happened here today. This is the nature of the family you're marrying into." I turned on my heel and started walking away. Behind me, I heard Sophia's sobs and the confused murmurs of the guests. But I didn't look back. As I left the parking lot, I looked over my shoulder one last time. There they were, my family, standing in shock on the asphalt. Scattered folding chairs. Cheap decorations fluttering in the wind. This was my family without me. And without ever looking back again, I walked away. Since the wedding, I've cut off all contact with my family. For the first few days, they sent angry calls and messages. I ignored them all. After a week, they stopped reaching out. A month after the chaotic wedding, I learned the truth by coincidence. On my way home from work, I ran into Aunt Juliet, my mother's sister, at a cafe in the neighborhood. She had always been relatively neutral in the family, and my relationship with her wasn't bad. "Alicia, how have you been?" Juliet sounded a bit awkward as she greeted me. We had coffee together, chatting about safe, surface-level topics. But as the conversation went on, her expression grew heavy. "Alicia, I think you have a right to know." Her tone turned serious. "Have you heard the real reason behind the wedding situation?" I shook my head. "They just said it was a small ceremony." Juliet sighed deeply. "That was just the official excuse. The truth is, your mother and Sophia decided on it together." "Decided what?" "They came up with a reason not to invite you." In reality, there were over 70 guests. It was by no means a small wedding. My chest tightened. "But why?" Juliet hesitated, then continued. Sophia said, "If Alicia's there, everyone will flock to her. I'll be overshadowed." What would I even do for that to happen? That was the problem. You could do anything. Juliet's voice grew quieter. "Sophia has always had complicated feelings toward you. Whenever something happened in the family, everyone naturally turned to you for help, didn't they?" I thought back. It was true, helping to arrange my relatives to move, accompanying our elderly grandmother to the hospital, planning family trips, mediating disputes. I had gradually become the go-to person. When Sophia was born, she naturally became the center of attention. She was cheerful, sociable, always making people laugh. But in serious moments, everyone turned to you. But she was always the popular one. Being popular and being trusted aren't the same thing. Juliet spoke with sadness. Sophia could be the center of fun, but no one came to her for serious advice. Everyone thought, talking to Sophia won't solve anything. My chest ached. Juliet went on. The same thing happened during the wedding planning. At first, Sophia tried to take charge, but soon your mother said, "Let's ask Alicia." Venue selection, budget management, guest list arrangements. But I didn't even. That made it worse. Sophia overheard your mother saying, "Alicia could fix this in 5 minutes," while she was struggling. I was stunned. I only wanted to help my family. They couldn't see that. To Sophia, your capability only highlighted her own shortcomings. She wanted to be the center of her own wedding. But with you there, it would have been, "Of course Alicia handled it," or "Thank goodness Alicia's here." And Mom agreed with that? Juliet nodded. Your mother carried her own complicated feelings too. As a mother, she wanted to love both daughters equally, but she always ended up relying on you. When Sophia cried, "I'm your daughter too," she felt guilty. Did other people know? Most had a sense of it, but no one spoke up. Some might have even felt more relaxed without you. Because when you're around, their irresponsibility becomes too obvious. I stared at my coffee cup. The vague discomfort I'd felt for years was finally taking shape. So being trusted was a burden to the family? No. Juliet shook her head firmly. There are many who truly appreciate you. They just didn't have the courage to speak up. I stood. "Thank you for telling me, Aunt Juliet, but it's too late." "Alicia, maybe it's not too late to fix this." "No." I smiled. "This is better. I'm grateful to know the truth. I never did anything wrong. I'm simply free from people who see my strengths as flaws." As I left the cafe, I felt truly liberated for the first time. The mystery that had haunted me was solved, and I realized I had no reason to blame myself. My kindness and abilities should have been directed toward the right people. And now, I finally can do so. Instead of trying to fix past relationships, I began focusing on the relationships I truly value. First, I deepened my friendship with Camila. She fully supported my decision and said, "You did the right thing." We began spending more weekends together, holding private cooking classes at her venue, and trying out new wines. I also told my coworkers about what had happened. They told me, just because they're family doesn't mean you have to forgive everything, and those words confirmed that my decision had been the right one. But while I was living peacefully, my family began to face the consequences. First, Sophia's marriage collapsed. Adrian had learned the truth at that wedding. He found out that Sophia had lied to him about having no sister, that the parking lot venue was no accident, and that they had lied to me to receive financial support. He simply couldn't forgive the lies. "Your family have deceived me," Adrian reportedly told Sophia. "Your sister is a wonderful person, yet you all painted her as the villain. I can't get married to someone like that." The divorce proceedings moved quickly, and Sophia ended up moving back into our parents' house. She tried to reach out to me, but I had blocked all methods of contact. Meanwhile, my parents were facing serious trouble too. News of the parking lot wedding spread quickly throughout the neighborhood and at my father's workplace. People were especially outraged that I had been tricked into giving money, only to be excluded from the wedding. They borrowed money from their daughter and didn't even invite her to the wedding? That family's messed up. Everyone knows how kind Alicia is. That's what it means to bite the hand that feeds you. Neighbors started to avoid my parents outright. The same happened at my father's workplace. Coworkers gave him cold looks, and talks of his promotion quietly disappeared. My mother, too, was effectively shut out from the local volunteer group she had belonged to for years. "Why not ask your daughter for help if you're short on money?" That snide remark was repeated often enough that my mother began to dread going outside. 6 months later, my parents couldn't take it anymore and decided to sell the house. They moved to a place where no one knew them. Letting go of a home they'd lived in for over 30 years was devastating both financially and emotionally. While packing for the move, my mother came to my workplace one last time. But I refused to see her. A coworker stepped in and told her, "Alicia is living her new life. Please let her be." Aunt Juliet continued to send me brief updates about the family. Between the lines, the despair was clear. Sophia got divorced and moved back home. Your parents are starting over in a new place. Everyone wants to apologize to you. After reading that letter, I quietly tucked it away in my desk drawer. I felt sympathy, but no regret. This was the result of their own choices. 1 year later, I moved from my small apartment into a house with a garden, chosen and paid for entirely by me, for me. At my housewarming party, Camila and several coworkers came to celebrate. It was a small gathering, but I could feel that everyone there was genuinely happy for me. "Alicia, you made the right choice." Camila told me, "Blood alone doesn't make a family. The people who truly care about you, they are your real family." That night, when I was alone, I stood by the window and looked out at the garden. The stars were shining beautifully. I asked myself if I regretted cutting ties with my family. The answer was clear. No, not at all. I had chosen myself, and it was the most right choice I had ever made in my life. It hurt to know my family was suffering, but it was a lesson they needed to learn. If you don't value the people in your life, you'll eventually lose more than you imagined. I have found true happiness with my new family friends I can truly trust. And that is enough.